Welcome to Shots Fired, featuring
Brad Freakin Nolen and
Nick Bell. Sorry, but Travis King had prior obligations before this event, so we are here from Cana, Virginia, presenting our early NFL predictions on standings in the Super Bowl and the MVP race and many other things. Brad, what do you got to say about some key features going through the season this year?
Well, let's just start with the AFC East. I see it shaking up like it usually does. The Patriots running the division. It's a weak division, but it's slowly improving. I see the Jets being a little better with Sam Darnold. And I was kind of low on the Bills at first, but Josh Allen has shown some good things in the preseason. So I think the Bills will finish third. And then I had the Dolphins last, who I also think will be the worst team in the AFC this year.
Well, I got to agree. The Patriots will run that division. This will be the last year the Patriots, I personally think, will be first place in that division because the Jets got Darno, and then the Bills got Josh Allen, and they're moving up. I mean, the Dolphins are going to be at the bottom for a little bit. But after this year, Brady and Belichick may be gone. The dynasty might be coming to an end. Of course, the Patriots are going to finish first. I think they're going to go 12-4, and then coming in second, I think the Jets are going to surprise some people, and they're going to go 9-7, and they're not going to be far behind the Patriots. It's going to be a tight race until about week 12 to 13, I think. And then I got the Bills coming in third. Josh Allen will surprise many people and be in the running for Rookie of the Year. And because I have to compare him to Carson Wentz. He came from Wyoming, a small college, and I think he's going to be a lot like Carson Wentz.
That's high praise for Josh Allen right there. He's got some big shoes to fill, following Carson Wentz's footsteps.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. And then Ryan Tannehill, I think he'll be injury-free this year and play all 16 games, and I think they'll round out finishing 4-12. Let's switch gears to the AFC North.
AFC North, I see it shaking out like it usually does. You got the Steelers leading it. I also think that's also my Super Bowl favorite out of the AFC. And then I got the Ravens finishing second. They're going to be a borderline playoff team, but I don't think they quite make it in. And then I have the Browns surprising some people, finishing third. I think they're going to win about 6 games this year. I think they've added a lot of nice pieces. And then fourth, I think Cincinnati. They're a little bit of struggles on that offensive line, but they're getting it turned around. They got a good young running back. And but yeah, that's how I see it shaking out.
The Steelers, I think, will win the division, but Roethlisberger's career is coming to an end, and Le'Veon Bell, with his contract drama, I just think it's going to cause conflict on the offense, and the offense is not going to be as strong as years past. I got them win, and this might be their last year atop the AFC North. And coming in second, I got the Ravens. It seems like every year, if their team's terrible, if it's good, if it's great, somehow, some way, their special teams carries them and gets them about 4 extra wins a year just by the special teams. So they're playing a little beamer ball from Virginia Tech. I think they'll go 9-7 and finish second in the division, just missing the playoffs. And I got the Browns. Tyrod Taylor leading them to a 5-11 season. They're going to pull off 2 upsets against the Steelers this year. They will beat the Steelers both times.
Whoa, shots fired. Pow, pow.
Then I got the Bengals rounding out the division 4-12. Andy Dalton is a terrible quarterback, and I do not think he needs to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. I think he is a good backup, but not a starting quarterback. And I think their coach will be fired after this season. And it's sad to see with as much potential they got on that offense with John Ross and the rookie running back, I can't think of his name.
Joe Mixon.
It's sad to see all that talent. And they just lost their starting safety about a week ago, Ioka. And I think another team picked him up. But the Bengals, they're going to have to start rebuilding. And maybe 5 years from now, they can be something different. AFC South, Brad Nolen, what do you got?
AFC South, I think, is a very interesting division. Lots of talent. It's going to be a great race. But I see Houston barely squeaking out with that division. They got a lot of weapons on that team. they can stay healthy, they could be a Super Bowl favorite. Deshaun Watson's amazing. DeAndre Hopkins is amazing. That defense is going to be nuts. So they'll win the division barely over Jacksonville. Got them second. They will be a wild card team, though. They got the best defense in the NFL, I think. Fournette's a beast. Bortles has a few question marks, but I do see them finishing second. Third, I have Tennessee. Derrick Henry's going to be a stud this year. And Deion Lewis was a good pickup. And then fourth, see the Colts being fourth. Andrew Luck coming back from the injury. I think he'll start a little slow. They ain't got enough weapons on that Colts team. They need some help. Need to get Luck some help, but they'll get it turned around eventually.
I think Jacksonville is going to win the division easy. They're going to win it by 3 games, finishing 13-3. Blake Bortles is a game manager. This 2018 Jaguars team reminds me a lot of the 2013 Seahawks. That defense is the most dominant defense, or it might be the most dominant defense of this decade. I think it might be better than Seattle's 2013 defense. But I think they're that a lot of similarities on that. And I think Jacksonville's going to win that division easy, and it's going to be determined after about week 8. And then Houston, I got them coming in second, finishing 10-6. Deshaun Watson coming off the ACL injury. You don't know what you're going to get with him. The Titans, Marcus Mariota, consistent player. You can rely on him in fantasy or anything you want to. So I think he's going to lead them to a 10-6 record as well. But the Texans will beat them both times through the regular season and having the tiebreaker over the Titans. And coming in fourth, I got Indianapolis finishing 7-9. Andrew Luck coming off an injury. He might have played 2 games in the last 2 seasons. He doesn't have any weapons. Jack Doyle at tight end just ain't going to be enough. And, yeah, you can go ahead and tell me who the running back is because I have no idea. Last time I checked, it was Frank Gore. But
they have a few young guys. They got Jordan Wilkins. He's a nice young back. And then they got Marlon Mack, who they've had a few years. But, yeah, not enough at running back. Yeah. Never had much of a running game since Luck's been there.
And that defense won him a top 20 defense last year. So they need pass rush help, and they need safeties and cornerbacks. And
they need a lot of help.
Yeah, their general manager, he's just been in trouble ever since he got in there with DUIs and stuff. That's a lot of drama on that team. They just need a fresh start. And I think after this year going through the draft, they need to trade away some of their bigger pieces and just go all young talent. And that's what I would do if I was them.
They need a culture change in Indianapolis, that's for sure.
AFC West, I got Oakland surprising most people winning the division.
Wow.
I just think Doug Martin and Marshawn Lynch is going to be too much to deal with. And then you got Amari Cooper, the third-year wide receiver. He is a stud and something good to have on fantasy. And Jordy Nelson's 34. He's still going to produce. He might be old, but he's a good number 2. I mean, he's not a bad number 1, but he's too old to be a good number 1 now. So I think he'll still produce, and I think Jordy Nelson will have about a 700 to 800-yard receiving season with about 7 touchdowns. And second place in that division, I got the Chargers. It has been a while since we've talked about the Chargers being in the playoff conversation. It seems like this division has been dominant, and the Chargers have always fell at the bottom. But Phillip Rivers is one of the best throwing QBs in the NFL, and he's always top 10 in passing yards. I mean, he might not be the best rusher, but he's just going to throw the ball. And he's got several good weapons on offense right there. And then not to mention a good running back, Melvin Gordon. He's a very, very tremendous running back for his second year, or after his second year last year, and now he's a third-year player. And third, Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. We're going to lead him to a 10-6 record. Kareem Hunt will not come out hot like he did last year. I think he'll rush for about 600 yards this year, and I think he's going to be battling injuries through the year. And Denver, Case Keenum, he's not going to be like he was in Minnesota. He's not going to catch fire. That defense is going to have to carry him, but the defense will not be enough because the teams they play has got too much offense. And for Denver to win these ball games, they're going to have to at least score 21 points, and I just don't see that happening every game with Case Keenum at quarterback. And then your running backs, they got a rookie that's on the rise, but I don't know if Devontae Booker will beat him out for it or not. And C.J. Anderson, I think they released him, right?
Yeah, he went to Carolina, so he's Carolina's backup.
Okay. Yeah, I got Denver finishing 8-8, 500. Von Miller, will have contract issues after this season and possibly will be traded is one of my predictions.
Okay, yeah, I am really high on the AFC West. In my opinion, it's the best division in football.
Yes, sir.
And we have a very different opinion on this division, how it's going to shake up. I think the Chargers are going to win the division and get into the playoffs and make some noise in the playoffs potentially. They just got 2 great pass rushers, Joey Bosa, Melvin Ingram, and they got a stellar offense. Phillip Rivers, future Hall of Famer. I just love that Chargers team. I got the Chiefs finishing second. I think Pat Mahomes is going to be big time. He's going to be a stud. That offense, so many weapons. Defense is a little weak. That's what's going to hold them back, but they're my other wild card team in the AFC. I got Denver finishing third. That pass rush they have is amazing. With the draft pick they made this year, go along with Von Miller, it's going to be something to handle for offensive lines in the NFL. And then fourth, I have Oakland. I don't think John Gruden's going to turn around this year. He's going to need a few years to get that struggling franchise back on its feet. So I got them finishing fourth.
So what do you think about Marcus Peters on that Chiefs defense?
Well, I hate to tell you this, Nick Bell, but he went to the Los Angeles Rams in the offseason.
Now, what do you think about the Rams? What do you think about the Chiefs moving him to the Rams?
I think they are really weak in that secondary. Well, they got Eric Berry, but, I mean, that's about all they have. They traded in the Alex Smith trade. They got Fuller from Washington, and he's a great cornerback, but he's not Marcus Peters. The Chiefs on defense are going to be really weak, I think. That's just going to be their downfall. That offense is going to put up points, but that defense is going to give up a lot of points.
So best defensive team in that division?
I'm going to have to say the Chargers.
The Chargers, wow. It has been a while since I have heard of the Chargers defense. Do you think they'll be a top 10 fantasy defense this year?
Oh, yeah. I actually had a draft last night, and I took them. I took them as well as Denver's defense. I have I'm going to start Denver's to start out the year, but I have the Chargers on the bench, and I think they'll, by the end of the year, be a top 5 fantasy defense.
So let's flip things. What's the best offense in that division? Since this is the best division in football, agreed by both of us, we'll go ahead more and be more specific in this.
I say the best offense in that division, it's going to be definitely between the Chargers and the Chiefs. I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs, though, in this one. There's so many weapons. You got Travis Kelce, you got Tyreek Hill, you got Sammy Watkins, you got Kareem Hunt, and you got Pat Mahomes who can throw 75 yards on his knees. I mean, there's going to be so many huge plays in that offense. Give me that Chiefs offense as the best offense in that division, and possibly the AFC.
I'm going to have to go with the best defense on being the Denver Broncos. Von Miller, just hearing his name leading the defense automatically wants you to think that is the best defense. But he is a game changer. He's about like J.J. Watt when he's mentioned with the Houston Texans.
We saw that in the Super Bowl against the Panthers. Von Miller made his presence felt from beginning to end, and that's why he was Super Bowl MVP.
He makes his presence felt in every game he plays in. And the best offense in that division, I'm going to have to go with San Diego. Phillip Rivers, this is what he's been waiting for, and this is his time to shine. And if he doesn't do it this year, he will never do it. This is his chance and opportunity to win a Super Bowl with as many weapons as he's got. And he's got a good head coach behind him and a good offensive coordinator, Gus Bradley. He is a heck of a offensive coordinator.
All right, before we shift gears to the NFC, let's hear your AFC Championship game prediction and who you think is going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl.
Well, here is I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who would ever thought going to back-to-back AFC championships with Blake Bortles at quarterback? But you know what? Blake Bortles only has to throw the ball 20 times a game. I think Fournette will carry the offense, having 20 to 35 rush attempts a game, which they got good backups at T.J. Yeldon. He'll have several carries too. But what I heard is one of the receivers got hurt, if I'm not mistaken.
Marquise Lee.
Marquise Lee got
hurt his leg last night in a preseason game.
That's going to hurt several people's fantasy teams. But we don't know how severe the injury is. I still think Jacksonville, that defense, is the most dominant defense since that 2013 Seattle defense. And you remember that 2013 Seattle defense? They carried that team to the Super Bowl. And I think this is what happens here. Jacksonville beats Oakland in the AFC Championship.
Wow.
Jacksonville on a rainy night 24-20, Jacksonville. Blake Bortles makes a comeback drive at the 2-minute warning, and they score a touchdown. Blake Bortles throws the touchdown past Cole, the number 2 wide receiver.
Okay. All right. I like it. My AFC prediction, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers going to the Super Bowl. I think they just got all the weapons. They got Le'Veon Bell, they got Antonio Brown, you know that. But that defense was top 5 in yards allowed last year. I think it's just going to improve. And I have them facing, this was where it was tough for me. I have a lot of teams in the AFC I like, but I think it'll be the Houston Texans if they can stay healthy.
You think Houston's going to make it out of the seasons they've had in years past with all the injuries? Do you think they will have injuries this year and go injury-free?
I'm hoping they go injury-free for once. I would love to see all that talent on the field and not be hurt. If they can stay healthy, they will be in the AFC Championship because Deshaun Watson is a beast. And he's going to put up some stats. And I think they're going to fall just short of the Super Bowl. But, heck, next year I could see them in the Super Bowl. So I think it's going to be the Texans get the AFC Championship.
Yes, I think the Houston Texans have built the right way. They used to be terrible, and they've worked their way up through the draft and selecting key free agents that has turned that team around. I mean, that punter, he might not have a lot to do with the football game, but the veteran mentality and the leadership helps out. He's like 42 years old. That's a great help, no matter the position you are playing. And special teams wins ball games. Defense wins championships.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a good offense, but if you don't have a good defense, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, another team to watch out for in that AFC, I would not be surprised if they represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, is the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm really high on that team. I didn't quite have them in the AFC Championship because I think Houston and Pittsburgh are just a tad better, and the Chargers will have a tougher competition in the AFC West. It'll hold them back some, but I would not be surprised if they were in the Super Bowl this year. Phillip Rivers is big time. So
give me your dark horse, a team that we said would not be good this year that may surprise everybody and make the playoffs.
Give me those New York Jets. Last year, they weren't supposed to win that game, and they surprised lots of people. And now they've got a legit quarterback, a legit franchise quarterback in Sam Darnold. If they got in the playoffs, I really wouldn't be surprised. And I've heard rumors they're trying to get Khalil Mack from Oakland. If that happens, I think they would make the playoffs. So watch out for those Jets. The Sam Darnold era is starting, and Tom Brady better watch out. It's getting close.
Yes, my dark horse is in that same division at Buffalo. Like I said, Josh Allen, I think he's going to be a lot like Carson Wentz. Coming from a small school, nobody has faith in him. And I think he's going to turn around Buffalo, and he's going to do better than what Tyrod Taylor did. Tyrod Taylor was more of a game manager, and he let his defense carry him. But Tyrod Taylor didn't have many weapons with that offense. Maybe the Bills organization can get Josh Allen a few weapons. And LaShawn McCoy, I tell you, he is my favorite fantasy running back to have. I've had him the last 2 years, and he has won me very many matchups. And changing from dark horses, what's teams we had making the playoffs in the AFC that might, they will surprise everybody and not make the playoffs or have a season unexpected?
I wouldn't say they're not going to make the playoffs, but I think we'll take a major step back this year is the New England Patriots. I'm not high on them this year. They had too much trouble in the offseason. The things that they were known for, sound franchise tactics, not letting the rumors get the best of them. You had Gronk thinking about retirement. You had Brady not showing up to OTAs. You had Belichick being mad at Robert Kraft because he wanted Garoppolo to take the reins of the franchise. So there's a lot of drama going on behind the scenes in New England. So I think New England takes a step back. I could see them winning 10 games this year.
Yes.
So
10 games. That's a good record for 10-6. A good record.
Not for the Patriots.
For most teams, but yes, as y'all know, New England has been very dominant the last 17 years in the NFL since the Belichick and Brady era began.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me something. Why in the world would you get rid of Garoppolo?
It really come down to Tom Brady and Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft being a fan of Tom Brady and not being a fan of the franchise. The fans were actually booing Tom Brady at training camp and in preseason games, they're mad at him because they wanted Garoppolo there. They wanted another 15 years of dominance. And Robert Kraft wanted Tom Brady. And Bill Belichick, behind the scenes, is probably pretty pissed about it. So that's what they get. I mean, you could have had Garoppolo for 15 years instead of Brady for 2, but hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, it's very. I mean, Tom Brady might play 2 more years at most in the NFL, and it wouldn't surprise me if him and Belichick both retire after this year, and the Patriots organization will go down for about a 5-year span, and they'll rebuild through the draft just like any other team. But my team that I think will be the one that might shock everybody and not do as expected is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Wow.
As much drama. Ben Roethlisberger is 35, 36 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He has back problems. He has injury problems. And like in preseason, he fell on his head. It just seems like something every other week he's getting sacked and hurt. He's just too big and fragile. He's like a carton of eggs. I mean, and Le'Veon Bell, man, I don't even know if he'll play with the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I think this time next year, he'll be the starting running back for the Seattle Seahawks.
Wow, Seattle.
I think he wants to play with Russell Wilson, and I've read plenty of articles, and I just think that is the right fit. And I think Antonio Brown will have a down season this year. He is not going to be able to carry the team. He is missing his number 2, Martavis Bryant, which went to Oakland with Amari Cooper and Jordy Nelson.
Yes, but Pittsburgh has a very reliable number 2 now in a guy called Juju Smith-Schuster. And I think he is going to be just fine as a number 2 wideout.
I think Juju Smith-Schuster is a 1-year wonder. And that's something.
You're going to eat those words, Nick Bell.
That's something that a lot of people want to agree on. But he just got hot at the right time last season. And that's about all I got for the AFC. You want to go to the NFC?
Let's switch gears. I'm ready. NFC, let's go.
NFC East, Brad Nolen. Who do you got?
Oh, you know who I got in the NFC East. Nick Bell. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Back to back. Let's go. I got the Fly, Eagles, fly, number 1. It's pretty easy. They got the most talented, deepest roster in the NFL. Carson Wentz will be back, man. He's going to be an MVP for him. They're going to run away with that division. I got Dallas second. I think they'll be just fine. Their defense has improved. Ezekiel Elliott will be there all year. Their line's great. Dak's a fine quarterback. Some people don't think so, but I think he's a pretty good quarterback. They have question marks at receiver, but they'll get it figured out. When you got a line like that, just hand the ball off every time, man. Third is a question mark for me. I can see the Giants or Redskins finishing third, but I'm going to have to go with the Giants finishing third this year. They got Saquon Barkley in the draft. They got Beckham coming back. They drafted a great offensive lineman. I got them finishing third. And fourth, I got the Redskins. I think Alex Smith will be fine for them, but that division's just too talented, so I got them finishing fourth.
I got Philadelphia winning the division as well. No surprise to most people. I got them going 13-3 and being tied with 2 other teams with the best record in the NFL. The other 2 teams I had Los Angeles Rams and the Jacksonville Jaguars at 13-3. Carson Wentz, whether or not he's ready for Week 1, it's a very, very winnable game for him. With Nick Foles, even if Nick Foles don't play, their defense is excellent and got several weapons that will help. Even the Sutfield, their third-string quarterback, I think they'll just be all right. I think Dallas is going to rebound this year and finish second in the division at 11-5. Zeke Elliott will lead that offense, and I just think Dak Prescott just reminds me a lot of Teddy Bridgewater, and Teddy Bridgewater, you know what happened to him. Just tough luck. But Dallas, that defense is improving, and that offensive line is banged up right now. So if Zeke Elliott can't lead that offense, they got some question marks. And another prediction I got is Jason Garrett, the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, will be fired after the season.
I don't see that happening because he is a Jerry Jones yes man, and Jerry Jones loves his yes men. So I don't know about that. Anybody that's going to agree with Jerry Jones is going to keep their job. So that's another reason they suck so bad, is because they don't have the right head coach. I don't think he's much of a coach, but he says all the right things, so that's why he keeps his job. So
And another very interesting thing, the Redskins I got coming in at third traded for Alex Smith in the offseason. What do you think about that, Brad?
I think Alex Smith is a good quarterback, and I think it was a great trade for Washington. And Cousins was a great quarterback. I think he's going to do great in Minnesota, but Alex Smith, you can't go wrong with him. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has the second highest touchdown to interception ratio in the NFL behind Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So he has the third highest. So I mean, he don't turn the ball over. I mean, you can't complain if he's not going to throw a pick and he's going to manage the game and get you wins. You can't complain.
Yeah. And then coming in fourth in the division, I got the New York Giants. The New York Giants. It just seems like every year they're either going 7-9, 8-8, 9-7. This year I got them going 7-9. Eli Manning, 38 years old. He's getting up in age. I don't think he's going to be able to pull off what his brother did and win a Super Bowl his last season. Saquon Barkley, he has got a very bright future. And whichever quarterback that will take over for the Giants, I think that squad right there is going to be great with Odell. They traded for Brandon Marshall last season. He just that didn't work out. He got injured, and now he's with Seattle. But that's all I got for that division. On to the NFC North.
NFC North. A lot of people say the NFC South has the best quarterbacks in all of football. I disagree. I think the NFC North has now taken over that title. You have Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, and a dark horse at quarterback this year, Mitch Trubisky. I see that division going something like this. I got the Packers winning it because Aaron Rodgers is a bad, bad man. They're going to run away with it. I think the Vikings had a lot of good breaks for them last year. No injuries on defense. They had everything go right for them last year. I still think the Vikings will be a playoff team, but I don't think they'll be what they were last year. And that's nothing against Kirk Cousins at all. I think he'll do just fine. I just think they won't get the breaks they had last year. They didn't face Aaron Rodgers in either game last year because they injured him in the first one. So that was a good break they got. And then, so they're not going to have the same breaks they had last year. And then I have the Detroit Lions finishing third. Matthew Stafford, just another mediocre year. He's a fine quarterback. The Lions just going to be mediocre as always. Nothing special there. And then I see the Bears taking a big step forward. Even though they're going to be in fourth in the division, I see them being not quite a 500 team, maybe 6-10 or so. But I think Mitch Trubisky's up and coming. They got a lot of great weapons. They got a new offensive coordinator. Watch out for those Bears. They may surprise some people. So go ahead, Nick Bell.
Mr. Trubisky, yes, he is a very intriguing QB coming from Carolina. Yes, I hate Carolina, but I got to tell you, he is a very, very intelligent quarterback. And I think he's got a bright future ahead. And then third place, I got the Lions coming in at 9-7. Matthew Stafford is the second highest paid QB, and the last time I seen him in the playoffs was 3 years ago, and they lost to Dallas. So I don't know. Even with Matt Patricia coming in, maybe he'll help get that defense a little stronger. He may be able to turn around that defense just a little bit back to the Ndamukong Suh days. But I don't know. And then, second in the division, I got the Packers at 11-5. Aaron Rodgers, yes, he's getting older, and injuries might be starting to fatigue him.
But he's still a bad, bad man,
yes,
Nick Bell.
He is a bad, bad man. But the Vikings are the best all-around team in the NFC North.
Oh.
With Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Latavius Murray, he's going to rejuvenate his career at running back this year. Wide receiver Adam Thielen, the most underrated wide receiver in the NFL.
Ooh.
And the number 2, Stephon Diggs. That's just too much right there. And that division is going to be the Vikings. But I think the Vikings and the Packers will both make the division. And the Lions will just miss out at 9-7. And I don't know, the Bears' backfield might help them win a couple extra games. You remember Cohen and
Jordan Howard.
Yes, that is a very, very good duo at running back.
That offense is going to surprise some people. Just watch out for those Chicago Bears. It's going to be real.
I think Matt Nagy was a good hire at head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Because you remember that Chiefs offense? That Chiefs offense was rolling when Andy Reid turned over his play, calling rolls over to Matt Nagy.
Mm-hmm.
That offense turned around right then and there.
Mm-hmm. They got weapons everywhere. They got Allen Robinson now, Trey Burton from the Eagles, Mr. Philly Special, I like to call him.
Yes.
And they got Cohen's going to be something to deal with out of that backfield. And then Jordan Howard, he's a ground and pounder. Mitch Trubisky's going to be fine. Yeah, the Bears, watch out for him. I wouldn't be surprised if they snuck in the playoffs, actually. That's a hot take.
Okay. NFC South. It's been dominated by the Falcons, the Saints. The Panthers had an off year last year. And then the Buccaneers has been taking it up a step the last couple of years, getting Jameis Winston in the draft and Mike Evans. I tell you, he's a stud.
Hide your Uber drivers if you see Jameis Winston, folks.
And I got the Falcons winning the division 11-5. I just think Matt Ryan and Julio is going to be too much for the division. And it's going to be a very tight race between the Falcons and the Saints. They got Drew Brees and that another very good duo at running back. But Mark Ingram is serving a 4-game suspension to start the season off. So it's going to be up to Alvin Kamara to lead that offense at the running game. And then the Panthers, they're going to be about like they were last year. I got them going 8-8. Cam Newton, to me, is one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL. The only thing that helps him is his size, and he does some stupid stuff when running the ball. His career, he'll be lucky if he makes it to his mid-30s.
He about broke his neck this past weekend in the preseason.
You got to realize when you're in the preseason, you do not go all out if you're a starter. Maybe if you're trying to make the roster, but I'm pretty sure he's got a guaranteed roster spot. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, it's not going to help having Jameis Winston serve a 3-game suspension to start the season off, so they're going to fall behind quickly. Even though Ryan Fitzpatrick is a very good backup quarterback, I do not think he will be able to start them off with a winning record, and it's just going to be too much for the Buccaneers to overcome, causing conflict and drama between that offense and the coaching staff. And I got them finishing 7-9.
Yeah, the NFC South, you could see it shaking up all kinds of different ways. It's always competitive. They have different division winners almost every year, so you really can't predict that division. But the way I see it shaking out is I like the Saints in first. I think behind the Eagles, they have probably the second best roster in all football. Actually have the Eagles and the Saints in the NFC Championship game. I love Alvin Kamara, man. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. He was amazing last year. And I think the 4-game suspension to Ingram, they'll be just fine with just Kamara taking the reins for a little bit. When he comes back, man, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. That defense, though, they upgraded it again. That defense is going to be top 10 this year, maybe fringe top 5. So watch out for the Saints, man. Second, I see Atlanta finishing second. They're loaded everywhere. That offense, man. You got 2 great running backs. You got Julio. You got Calvin Ridley now, another Alabama product. You got Matt Ryan at the reins. I'm not high on Matt Ryan, but I think with all those weapons, who could go wrong? Anybody can be good with those weapons. So I see them finishing second. Third, I see Carolina. I think Carolina's going to be just fine. They're going to be a borderline playoff team, just right outside looking in. I think McCaffrey's going to be a beast. I took him in my fantasy draft last night in the second round. He's going to get a lot of carries this year. I think Cam will actually do better without Kelvin Benjamin holding him back. Kelvin Benjamin, when he got hurt in 2015, he took that team to the Super Bowl, went 15-1. So I think Cam with some speedy receivers actually does a lot better. So I see Cam doing just fine. I'm not a big Cam Newton fan. I'm actually one of his biggest haters, but I do think he will do better this year. And then Tampa Bay is a big garbage fire. I mean, you draft Jameis Winston knowing all the troubles he has, and then he goes out and he gropes the Uber driver and he gets suspended for 3 games, and now what do you have? Nothing. You wasted a first-round pick, first overall pick on a guy that's going to sit on the bench for 3 games for doing something stupid. So they're out. Nothing to look forward to this year for the Bucs. They're going to start out 0-3. They play the Eagles, Saints, and Steelers their first 3 games. They're screwed, man. But that's really all I got to say about the Bucs. They're probably looking at first, second, third overall pick in the draft next year.
I wonder if Jameis Winston's been eating any crab legs lately.
You know he's been getting into trouble. We won't find out about it till a couple years down the road, but he's probably into some trouble as we speak.
Yes,
So,
yes. And that division, one of the most intriguing matchups of the year is always when the Falcons play the Saints. It seems like that game has got so much offense in it, and it's so much interesting. And they always usually play on primetime TV too, which under the lights makes it really interesting. These are Thursday night football and Monday night football. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they played this year on a Sunday night football game.
that would be good.
I think it's going to be really high scoring. Both teams will be in the 30s. But that is always a very interesting matchup. And on to the NFC West. Big changes in this division, Brad Nolen.
Yes, sir. The Rams they've got everybody this offseason. Every move that was made, it was like it was them or the Browns getting every free agent. Rams got Brandon Cooks. They got Ndamukong Suh. They got Marcus Peters. They got Aqib Talib. That defense, man. Goodness. It's going to be top 5 for sure. Maybe tops in the league. That offense is explosive. Sean McVay, man, what a head coach. He showed last year what you can do with Todd Gurley if you use him right. Thank goodness Jeff Fisher's gone and out of the league. He was one of the worst head coaches of all time, in my opinion.
But he took the Tennessee Titans to a Super Bowl.
True. But then other than that, have you ever heard of Jeff Fisher Day? They were trying to decide if it was going to be August 8th or July 9th, because he always went 8-8 or 7-9. So Jeff Fisher, just a 500 coach, and now you got Sean McVay, man, balls for days.
Yes,
He's
very, very young head coach, and that's just that's
great.
crazy. Yeah.
So I got the Rams finishing first. Not quite an NFC championship in my book, but I mean, if they got there, I wouldn't be surprised. The NFC's loaded, man. Anybody could get in, but yeah, I'm still a little salty at him for injuring my boy Wentz last year, but that's neither here nor there. We play him again this year in LA, so hopefully we can get some revenge on him. Even though we did win that game, but man, it still hurts seeing Wentz tears ACL. But yeah, I got the Rams first. Second, I see the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo. The man's undefeated in the NFL. I mean, what can you say? He's never lost. He might not lose it. They could go 16-0 this year, man. Won't surprise me. But I got him second. I think they've got some fine young weapons. Jerick McKinnon coming over is going to help a lot. Great pass catching back. George Kittle's good tight end. Marquise Goodwin, drafted him in fantasy last night. He's going to be big time. Watch out for him. So I got them finishing second. Then third, I got the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, they've come a long way. One time I looked at them as the most dominant defense in the league. Now they don't have but one piece left of that Legion of Boom. Earl Thomas is the lone soldier. And he don't even want to be there. He wants to play for the Dallas Cowboys. So who knows what will happen with him. You got Bobby Wagner there, great linebacker, possibly the best linebacker in the league, but that's not going to be enough, man. I see them being outside the top 20 in defense this year. That secondary is going to take a beating. Russell Wilson can carry him, but for how long? So he was MVP-type player last year, arguably should have won MVP. But I see them finishing third. And then fourth, the Arizona Cardinals. Working through some things at quarterback. I could see Josh Rosen being big time. He kind of reminds me of Aaron Rodgers, the way he's built, the way he plays. He might end up being a really great quarterback, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I just don't think they have enough weapons. Larry Fitzgerald's way too old. He's getting out of his prime. David Johnson, be interested to see if he come back from that injury, but that's how I see the NFC West shaking out.
Yes, I got the Rams going 13-3. Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Brandon Cooks, Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters. Enough said. That team's really dominant. But sometimes I've seen in situations when teams get too much talent on the roster, conflict does happen. Or I mean, they might not meet expectations, and then the media will freak out, and it will enter the Los Angeles Rams locker room. And
LA's a tough city to do that in. You got all the eyes on you, so
yes, sir.
It even makes it worse.
And I got second in that division. Seattle surprising several people. I think even though I'm a Seattle fan, as long as we got Russell Wilson there and Bobby Wagner, that team right there is going to go 500 as long as Russell Wilson is under center. I mean, look at this. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to have a winning season his first 6 years. I mean, no other quarterback has done that. third place, I got the 49ers, 8-8. They, Garoppolo will start off hot. They'll start off 4-2 and end up finishing the season 8-8. Just, I think it's something you're going to have to get experience under your belt. And once they do, that's going to be a very good team. I mean, their head coach was used to be the Falcons' offensive coordinator.
Mike Shanahan.
Yeah, Mike Shanahan.
Great offensive coordinator, great offensive mind. Third best offensive mind in the league behind Doug Peterson and Sean McVay, in my opinion.
Yes, and rounding out the division, I got the Arizona Cardinals going 2-14, having the number 1 overall pick in next year's draft. I just think Sam Bradford will start under center for them this year. He'll start about the first 6 games, and then they'll decide to bring in Josh Rosen after the Arizona Cardinals starts 0-6. But
tough love for the Cardinals, man.
Yes, Larry Fitzgerald is going to be banged up, and he'll retire after the season. But that has to do it for that division. Dark horse for the NFC.
Dark horse for the NFC. Like I said earlier, the Chicago Bears might surprise some people, but the NFC is loaded, man. There's so many good teams. That is the gold standard in the NFL. The NFC is stacked, but I could see the Bears sneaking in. Wouldn't surprise me, actually. Honestly, that's the only dark horse there is. That NFC's so good. If anyone else said anyone else, it wouldn't be a dark horse. Because I can see 8-9 teams getting in the playoffs.
Yes, I'm going to have to go with my dark horse as being the Washington Redskins. 9-7 is my prediction, but they just picked up Adrian Peterson. He might be washed up to some people, but after watching some film on him in that preseason other game, he looks like he's got some fresh legs. I think, and then Alex Smith at quarterback, I think Alex Smith can very well get them 10 to 12 wins this season. Playing in that tough division, but they got a decent defense, and I think they're going to pull out some games and be one of the luckier teams when it comes to officiating in the NFL, and you know how that is.
So let me ask you, Nick Bell, who do you have in the NFC Championship this season?
The NFC Championship. I do have Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings beating out Philadelphia.
Ooh.
And I got...
I hope you're wrong, Nick Bell.
Minnesota will beat Philadelphia 34-31 OT. And
you're going to get some revenge from last year's beatdown, huh?
Yes. And I think Kirk Cousins is just he's going to make Washington fans sick from DC. I mean, the Redskins would have been smart to keep him. I mean, he was they took him for granted, and they're going to miss him, but I think big things ahead for the Vikings. I mean, I think, what's their record in the Super Bowl? Is 0-4? Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. It's they're like the Buffalo Bills of the NFC, yeah.
Well, guess what? They're going to go to a Super Bowl yet again, and this is going to go ahead and make my Super Bowl prediction. They're going to lose and be 0-5 in the Super Bowl. The Jaguars, that defense, dominant. It's going to be like the rematch of the Seahawks and the Broncos, but it's not going to be a blowout like that game. Jaguars pull away 27-21, making the Vikings turn the ball over 3 times.
So Nick Bell's Super Bowl prediction, you heard it here first, folks.
Jacksonville versus Minnesota.
Well, at my NFC Championship, Nick Bell, I have the Philadelphia Eagles beating the New Orleans Saints. Alvin Kamara said, hey, if we'd have played the Eagles in the NFC Championship, we would have beat them last year. So we'll see about that, Alvin Kamara. I love you, man, but you need to shut up because the Eagles are going to knock you out in the NFC Championship. And my Super Bowl prediction is the Philadelphia Eagles beating the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Pennsylvania Bowl, as I like to call it. Oh, Eagles going to go back-to-back, baby. Wentz Wagon's going to get him an MVP. It's going to be a great time in the city of Philadelphia, folks. A franchise is on. The dynasty has begun. Fly, Eagles, fly, baby. Let's go.
If the Pennsylvania Bowl does happen, I think it would be the most watched Super Bowl in NFL history. And could you imagine the state of Pennsylvania? It'd be chaos after the game was over. Because 50% will be happy, and 50% will be burning couches on Main Street.
It might be the Civil War Part 2. We might have the state of Pennsylvania just break out in war.
Except it won't be the North versus the South. It'll be the East versus the West. As you know, Philadelphia is closer to the East, and Pittsburgh is on the West.
Either way, I have a bold prediction. Either way, the city of Philadelphia would be burnt to the ground, no matter the outcome. Could you agree with that, Nick Bill?
Yes, sir. So, rookies to watch out for.
Rookies to watch out for this year. I like Sony Michel of the Patriots. If he can get his health together in that knee, I think he's going to be a pretty dominant back in the NFL. I would say Darius Geis, but he tore his ACL for the Washington Redskins. I thought he was going to be big time, but we'll have to wait and see on that chapter of his story. But, yes, Sony Michel, Rashad Penny for Seattle. I think he's going to be pretty good. And as far as quarterbacks go, Sam Darnold, like I said, he's going to be the face of the franchise of the Jets, and they're going to dethrone the Patriots here in a few years. Sam Darnold is big time. Our co-commentator Travis King thinks Sam Darnold is overrated for some stupid reason, but he'll have to talk about that later on in another show. But
yeah, maybe if he can be with us. Of
yeah.
Course. Hopefully he'll be back for our second podcast, which will appear on September 5th on a Wednesday night before the regular season
doing
begins.
our week 1 predictions, folks. I can't wait. NFL season is 10 days away. Let's go.
Week 1. Very, very intriguing matchups. I just think Jacksonville versus the New York Giants is going to be a key game that week. Jalen Ramsey talking so much trash about all these QBs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's going to be put in place one of these games, but I don't think it's going to be that day.
No, Jalen Ramsey was right in everything he said. The ones he called out, he was right to do so, because they are trash in my opinion too. And the ones he said were great, I agree with. Carson Wentz and Watson, he's fans of. So
I'm not a fan of Matt Ryan, but do you think he's overrated?
I do think he's very overrated. And our co-commentator Travis King would disagree. He thinks he's the best quarterback in the NFL for some reason. But Matt Ryan is overrated. He has so many weapons. If he didn't have those weapons, if you flipped him with someone like, say, give Drew Brees those weapons, goodness gracious, the numbers he would put up.
Yes.
Flip someone like Aaron Rodgers. Put Aaron Rodgers on that Falcons offense. I mean, he would break records no one could touch ever in NFL history. Matt Ryan has weapons around him. I'm not high on Matt Ryan. That one year he won MVP was a fluke. A fluke.
Okay. I agree. I'm not a big fan of Matt Ryan. He's good to have on your fantasy team. Maybe 8 out of the 17 weeks.
Yeah.
But back to my rookies to watch out for. I just think Josh Allen. I think all 5 QBs that were drafted in this draft class is all going to be starting quarterbacks in the NFL 5 years from now.
Let me ask you this, Nick Bell. Of the 5 that got drafted, which one do you see falling off and not maybe being out of the league here in a few years?
We'll say Josh Rosen to Arizona. I just don't think they have very many very good future ahead from wide receiver or the coaching staff. I just think the coaching staff is unsettled, and I just think he's going to follow the league, but I just don't think he's going to be able to complete and mature into the playbook for that offense. But back to Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen is going to have him a Super Bowl here in the next 5 seasons.
Wow.
He is going to lead Buffalo.
That is a hot take.
So y'all write that down. Buffalo, within the next 5 years, will go to the Super Bowl.
You are really high on Josh Allen. I myself am not. Actually, when he got drafted, I thought, what are they thinking? And then I saw him in the preseason. I thought, okay, he's all right. I don't think he's as good as you think he's going to be. I think Sam Darnold is the one in that class to watch for. Baker, we haven't even talked about Baker Mayfield. What were the Browns thinking in that draft? Like, he might end up being good, okay. But what I would have done if I was the Cleveland Browns, you had the 1st and the 4th pick. Take freaking Saquon Barkley first overall. You had the best player in the draft in that case. And then, with the 4th pick, one of those quarterbacks was going to fall. Yeah. Take one of them. Heck, trade up, maybe take another one later on. Why would you take Baker Mayfield, of all people, with the 1st pick, and then go and draft a cornerback with the 4th pick? You could have had Saquon freaking Barkley.
But that is
the Cleveland
Browns. Yes, the Cleveland Browns. The team that is 1-31 in the last 2 seasons under Hugh Jackson. But Brad, do you know a key pickup I think they had on the coaching staff this year?
Todd Haley.
Offensive coordinator from Pittsburgh. I think he's going to get some revenge on Pittsburgh this year. Like I said earlier, the Browns will beat the Pittsburgh Steelers both times this year.
No one knows the Steelers and Big Ben and Antonio Brown like Todd Haley does. He knows their weaknesses, so he's going to exploit them. Browns are going to be fun to watch this year, man.
Oh, yes. Just like Jarvis Landry said, he wouldn't be surprised if they put up 40 against every team. I mean, what do you think they'll be able to put 40 up against every team?
No, Jarvis Landry might have been smoking a little too much before he made that comment. I say they could put up average maybe 25. They're going to be fun to watch. That defense is going to be better, maybe the offense. So
yes, that I would love to see the Browns dominate that division. I mean, if they came out and just made the playoffs somehow, some way this year, I would hate to see how many Cleveland Browns fans they would be after this season. But
yeah,
I wish them the best. I feel bad for him. Hugh Jackson breaking down in his press conference last year after starting 0-14, tears rolling out of his eyes. You gotta feel sorry for a grown man that cries.
Yeah.
I mean, that is. I might have went wrong there, and I shouldn't have mentioned it. But
how dare you, Nick Bell? How dare you?
That defense was a top 10 defense last year.
It was.
I mean,
couldn't win a game with
Myles Garrett looking like a stud in the preseason.
They messed up so much in that. They could have had Bradley Chubb, who Denver grabbed. Could you imagine Bradley Chubb and Myles Garrett on either side rushing the passer?
Oh, yes.
They screwed up so much in that draft.
What do you think about them getting rid of their veteran quarterback last year at Joe Hayden?
Well, Joe Hayden, I was high on him through most of his career. He's a Florida Gator, but he went to Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure. And he's just not what he was back in his prime, but it is what it is. They got Denzel Ward now with that 4th pick, which I thought was a mistake. We'll see how it goes, but, man, the Browns. Let's see if you can get a win this year, Browns. I'm pulling for you. 1 win, that's all I want to see.
So, this is a little bit off topic, but college football, Ohio State, Urban Meyer getting in trouble. Do you think his trouble will come back to haunt some of these players from Ohio State that got drafted or that will be drafted in the near future?
If they covered up what Urban Meyer covered up, I'm sure there was more that he was covering up that these players got away with. I mean, if it comes out, college sports altogether is a big, sketchy thing. I'm not into college sports like most people because I know the shenanigans that go on behind the scenes, and I'm like, it's a big joke to me, but I would not be surprised if these Ohio State products and the NFL they get exposed here in a few years. That's really going to hurt. Maybe they hurt the NFL.
Ohio State, I think some of their players got exposed a few years back. They were getting paid to give autographs and all kinds of other things. It wouldn't surprise me as if any of their players was getting paid, just like college basketball. The FBI wiretapped Arizona State's, not Arizona State, but Arizona with the wiretapping of the coach paying the player $100,000. And
wasn't that DeAndre Ayton, the number 1 overall pick in the draft this year? Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, if it's happening in college basketball, you know it's happening in college football. College football is a little bit more popular than college basketball. As usual, football is the most popular sport in the United States of America.
Yes.
But
I love football. Love me some football. That's why we're doing this podcast.
I love every sport except soccer. I mean, I'm sorry, but who wants to play communist kickball?
We have run a rabbit trail here tonight, folks. We are going to close with some comments, our final comments for the season going forward. Do you have anything else to say?
Hold on. We haven't talked about our MVP race.
Oh, yes. One last thing. We'll close with our MVP predictions for this season. My MVP for this year, I think Carson Wentz, if he stays healthy, he's going to get the MVP he was so rightfully robbed of last season. Carson Wentz is going to be the MVP this year, as long as he stays healthy. What about you, Nick Bell?
You think Carson Wentz is going to be the MVP?
Yes, sir. He would have had it last year if he wouldn't have got hurt.
Do you think he'll start week 1?
That's up in the air still.
They are about people that don't play the full season.
That's true.
MVP.
That's true.
And you know how regular season MVPs got a 1-9 record in the Super Bowl.
Ooh, yes, I take that back. I'd rather have a Super Bowl than Wentz win that MVP. give me some Deshaun Watson for MVP, ladies and gentlemen. I'm changing my pick. mid-sentence, I don't want Wentz to win MVP. I want them to win the Super Bowl. Give me Deshaun Watson. But Wentz will be a close second.
Coming off the injury. You know.
Who you got, Nick Bill? Who's your MVP? I know who you want to say.
Derek Carr is in the MVP conversation this year. Yes, I think
that's a hot take.
I think Derek Carr is going to tear it up this year, but he's in the MVP conversation. Also, would have to put Kirk Cousins.
Captain Kirk.
I think he'll be in it. And, of course, Russell Wilson.
There we go.
He has the last 3 or 4 years. That Seattle Seahawks team has become Russell Wilson as they lost Marshawn Lynch. But if it had to come down to it, I'm going to have to go with Kirk Cousins, MVP. Too many weapons on that offense. He's going to throw for close to 5,000 yards this year. And he's going to have over 25 passing touchdowns. And he'll have about 6 rushing touchdowns to go with that.
Number 1 fantasy quarterback last year was Russell Wilson, folks. Don't forget that. He could do it yet again.
Yeah, I just don't think he's got enough, but who knows? They've got a good running back now. He ain't going to get to throw the ball as much. But picking up Brandon Marshall at wide receiver, what do you think about that?
I think Brandon Marshall's irrelevant at this point. He's too old. He's washed up. Doug Baldwin's the guy to look out for in that offense.
Oh, yes. Doug Baldwin. Do you think he's underrated or overrated?
Underrated. I drafted him in fantasy last night as well in the 5th round, I believe it was. He's my wide receiver number 2, so I'm high on Doug Baldwin. He has the 2nd most touchdowns since, I think, 2013 behind Antonio Brown. So, Doug Baldwin's big time.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting NFL season. What do you think we'll see on the national anthem? Don't give me your opinion on it, but tell me what do you think.
I would love to give my opinion on it.
But what do you think is going to happen between the NFL and the players?
I think they need to quit showing it on TV because there's too many people in this world that can't handle a different opinion than their own. And freedom of speech in America apparently is not a thing. We fight for it. Our troops fight for it. But apparently if we use it, we're ridiculed. So I think they should just quit showing the anthem on TV altogether to quit talking about it. If you quit talking about it, it won't be a thing anymore. And then as long as if Trump brings it up again like he did last year, it'll be talked about again. But as long as we keep it out of our mouths and out of our eyes, it won't be a thing anymore. So let's just keep it off TV.
Let's show it on, keep it on TV. Let's keep it on TV. If you ain't gonna stand for the national anthem, it's said well. Just stay in the locker room. Don't come out and stand for it or kneel for it or whatever they're doing.
But then if they don't come out, Nick Bill, what happens? They get put on social media. They didn't come out for the national anthem.
That's fine. Just let them stay in the locker room, and it's over with there. I mean, if someone's got trouble with that, I mean, much rather them stay in the locker room than to come out and take a kneel and disrespect our country like that. Mm-hmm. And because I don't have a problem with that. That's okay if they don't want to hear the national anthem. They can. That's their
But
right.
let's also remember though what they're kneeling for. They're not kneeling against troops or the soldiers that have died for us.
Why are we doing it in the national anthem?
They are doing it to grab people's attention, I guess you would say, and they're not disrespecting the troops. They're disrespecting. It really comes down to Trump. Like, you might love him or hate him. I really don't have a problem with him necessarily. I think he's a good president. I don't like his character. That's neither here nor there. I think that's who they're kneeling for. Not against, not the troops.
But why on the job? Why during the national anthem? Why not during the football game? Why didn't they not sit the whole football game and make a statement to their whole football team? Because then that's going to grab more people's attention, especially if you're a fan of that team, if they don't.
Well, then you're disrespecting your team, and then you're not working. You're supposed to be working, and if you do it then, you're not. It's like, what are we paying you for? You know what I'm saying? So, but that's another debate for another time. We'll get into that. I'd love to talk about that sometime, but we need to wrap this up. Our NFL predictions for 2018. I'm Brad Freakin Nolen.
And I'm Nick Freakin Bell, and we're signing off. We'll see you September 5th at about 8 p.m.
That's it, folks. Shots fired. We're out.
Pow, pow.